This week I'll show you how to mount an old school 4-speed transmission like this Muncie M22 to a modern LS engine. Let's check it out. This is a 1966 10-spline Muncie M22 that I'm going to be putting behind my Gen 4 6-liter LS here with the short flange crank. And the first thing we're going to do is install our GM LS7 Pilot Bearing. This is going to fit right into the LS crankshaft, but it's also going to slip right over the input shaft on the Muncie. And I will have part numbers and links to all of this stuff down in the description. First thing, just make sure the bore of the crank here is nice and clean. And the bearing itself here, there's a little line right there. Never mind that. It is symmetrical. Both edges are rounded, so you can put it in either which way. Rubber mallet, tap it in a little bit just to get it started. Here I have a bearing driver that fits nicely over that, but a large socket will work just as well. This is a 32mm axle nut. And you'll hear it bottom out when it's all the way seated. Next, we're gonna install the Sachs NFW 1050 flywheel. And this is gonna be about your cheapest option, and that is because it is OEM. Rubber mallet, kind of get it seated. We'll install the 6 bolts with red Loctite, and we're gonna torque them down in a star pattern in 3 steps. 15 foot-pounds, 37 foot-pounds, and then 74 foot-pounds for the final torque. Next, you'll install whatever clutch you chose. I went with this 11-inch dual friction from American Powertrain. We have our clutch alignment tool, and make sure when you're purchasing your clutch that you get it to match the spline count of your Muncie. So mine's a 10 spline, that lines right up. Push it on, and that'll hold that clutch there for a moment while we get the pressure plate set up. Quick note, with this Sachs flywheel, I had to punch out these dowel pins because it interfered with where my pressure plate lined up. So I just turned it upside down and punched them out through the top. And really, the flywheel here is where all the adaptation is happening. We needed a flywheel that had the crank bolt pattern of an LS, but the pressure plate bolt pattern of like an old school small block Chevy kind of pressure plate like what we're using with the Muncie. So next, the pressure plate gets mounted, but with our ARP M10 bolts, the mounting hole on the pressure plate is a little bit too small, like just barely. So we got to waller each one out a little bit, that way these bolts pass through. And we're back. Kind of strange, it was only every other hole that I had to drill out. You do have to be careful though, because ARP does make 2 different kits for bolting pressure plates to small block Chevys. One standard and one metric. The Sachs flywheel uses the metric M10. Ask me how I know. Also, this is not my final install. If it was, I'd be coating the threads with the ARP thread lube. Now, before we go just torquing each bolt down, we need to draw it in evenly because there is some spring tension. Just go in a star pattern and just kind of a little bit at a time. And if you watch the fingers right here, you can see the spring tension kind of sucking in there. And ARP provides our torque spec here. You can see M10, 50 foot-pounds. Now that clutch disc should be nicely clamped in there, and we should be able to pull out the alignment tool. Next up is the bell housing you're going to need. This is a reproduction of a GM 621 bell housing. No adapter is needed here. Old bell housings and transmissions will bolt up to LS's. Now, one issue I'm having with my hardware is the shoulder of the bolt is a little bit too big for this spot and this spot that actually catches the edge of the bell housing. So I'll have to do something about that at a later time. This top right one won't be used regardless, and then obviously there's not a spot for the 12 o'clock position bolt. On my truck, I'm going to be using a hydraulic throwout bearing. This setup is from American Powertrain. This is the Hydromax system, and we need to take a few crucial measurements to make sure it's all going to work. The first measurement we're going to need is from the face of the bell housing here to the tips of the fingers on the pressure plate. So we'll measure that in a couple different spots and get an average. And to do that, I got a straight edge. I'm going to use a couple of the mounting studs to secure it. And if you look at it straight on from here, you can see we'll be able to get a few different data points. Then I'll take my calipers here and zero out the width of this ruler. That way we can butt this up against the straight edge like that, and then run this in. And we'll just mark a couple points here. First one is 2.63. I'm gonna get as many data points as I can. That way we can get a pretty good average here. And our second measurement will be from the front face of the throwout bearing to the mounting surface of the transmission up front here, this flat part. Make sure the calipers are zeroed. We'll measure it like this, 2.475. Again, measuring in a few different spots, that way we get a good average. And once we have those measurements, we can calculate our air gap, which is the distance between the front of the throwout bearing and the tips of the fingers on the pressure plate. This particular bearing calls for a spec of somewhere between 1 and 2/10 of an inch, 0.1 and 0.2. Our measurement ended up being 0.192. 192 thousandths of an inch. So we're actually perfectly in spec. We didn't have to add any shims. If your measurement here came out to over 0.2, you could add some of these to bring the throwout bearing closer to the pressure plate. These are 90 thousandths of an inch each. Keep adding these until you were between 0.1 and 0.2. But we got lucky with our air gap of 0.192, so no shims required. Now that we've verified clearance, we're ready for final install. So we'll get the throwout bearing off of here, and we're gonna throw on the bell housing. We already have our ARP stud kit screwed into the bell housing with red Loctite, and this is just gonna slip over. And then each stud gets a little bit of blue Loctite. And these will torque to 40 foot-pounds. Next, we can install the Hydromax throwout bearing. First, we will take some brake fluid. Just get a little film of that on the bearing retainer. And also, there's a rubber O-ring in here. Make sure we get some fluid on there. So the bleeder line comes already attached to the bearing. And then your main supply line to your master cylinder I had to attach. And we'll send that out the side right here. Slide this guy on all the way back. We're ready to go. I like to try and get one of the input shaft splines at the 12 o'clock position and then get one of the splines on the clutch at the 12 o'clock position. That way, hopefully everything can just kind of click into place and lines up pretty easy. Luckily, the Muncie is kind of sort of light, but we'll get it lined up. There we go. Torque them down to 35 foot-pounds and we are done. And that's it. Your Muncie is now ready to rock behind your LS. If you guys are interested in this build, this is a 6-liter LS. We're going to be dropping it into a 1985 Chevy C10. It is a NASCAR-inspired build. Hoping to make about 500 horsepower with this. We got boom tubes. It's going to be pretty awesome. Another thing with the truck, it's currently an automatic, so we have this pretty cool under dash hydraulic kit from Malwood. The master cylinder is built right into the pedal here, so we're going to be converting that. And then we have a C10 specific cross member that's going to work good with the Muncie. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped. Take it easy. I'll see you in the next one.